On Tuesday's episode of Tucker Carlson, Tucker had a retrospective monologue on the events from 3 months ago, January 6th, the terrorist attack at the Capitol, when deluded Republicans broke into the Capitol. Not to the deluded. Okay, I see you. In it, he claimed that the terrorists from that day were just peaceful protesters. Brendan Carrot of Media Matter published this video of Tucker's monologue, along with some of the pictures from that day. Let's see how they all match up.
Today is the 3-month anniversary of January 6th. For those of you who aren't good at dates or don't have calendars, this is the day that we pause to remember the white supremacist QAnon insurrection that came so very close to toppling our government and ending this democracy forever. You saw what happened. It was carried live on television, every gruesome moment. A mob of older people from unfashionable zip codes somehow made it all the way to Washington, D.C., probably by bus. They wandered freely through the Capitol like it was their building or something. They didn't have guns, but a lot of them had extremely dangerous ideas. They talked about the Constitution and something called their rights. Some of them made openly seditious claims. They insisted, for example, that the last election was not entirely fair. The whole thing was terrifying. And then, as you've been told so very often, they committed unspeakable acts of violence. By the time thousands of soldiers arrived to restore order, an unarmed woman, an Air Force veteran, lay dead. To this day, that woman is the one completely verified casualty of the insurrection, the only person whose death we can say definitively was caused by specific events on January 6th. We know how she died. The funny thing is you almost never hear that woman's name. Possibly that's because she was not a Democratic member of Congress or even a Joe Biden voter. She was a protester. Her name was Ashley Babbitt. She was 35. Protester. We still don't know who shot Ashley Babbitt or why. No one will tell us. But then when you're fighting insurrectionists, you don't have to explain yourself. You just hyperventilate about QAnon, and then you do whatever you want. When a group of sad, disenfranchised people who've been left out of the modern economy show up at your office, you don't have to listen to their complaints. Not for a second. Why would you? You thought listening to people's complaints was democracy? No, these people threaten democracy.
I am shocked. I'm shocked by everything that he said. I'm shocked. Of course, on January 6th, Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick was also killed, along with 3 other Trump terrorists. Ashley Babbitt, the woman Tucker mentioned, was shot by a cop guarding the House of Representatives chamber as after Babbitt and others violently broke into the Capitol and stormed the chamber. Later, Tucker further misrepresented Lisa Eisenhart and her son, Eric Munchell, claiming they just walked into the Capitol. Take a look.
That 2 defendants, Lisa Eisenhart and her son, Eric Munchell, should face indefinite detention. Now, neither Lisa Eisenhart nor her son damaged any property at the Capitol or committed any violence. They just walked in to what we used to refer to as the People's House. And yet somehow Joe Biden's Department of Justice convinced a trial judge that Lisa Eisenhart was a, quote, threat to our republic, and that her son was a, quote, would-be martyr. Keep in mind, these are people whose crime was trespassing in the Capitol. We're not endorsing that, but some perspective, please.
So, as a reminder here, here are Eisenhart and Munchell pictured in the Capitol. Munchell dressed in parliamentary gear, paramilitary, carrying zip ties and wearing patches with symbols associated with the far right. Prosecutors had sought to keep them in jail pending trial, but after an appeals court agreed to send the case back for a second look, prosecutors agreed to release the mother and son to home confinement. The 2 are facing charges of obstruction of an official proceeding, restricted building of or grounds, violent entry and disorderly conduct, and aiding and abetting. Munchell is also alleged to have brought a stash of weapons into the Capitol. So we've seen all those pictures of him. We've seen him with the zip ties. We've seen all those things. And now this is still considered to be something that is alleged. And for Tucker Carlson to start off his monologue with trying to frame it as if, yes, we know that, a lot of the claims were salacious, is what he said. A lot of what was being, the people that were storming the Capitol, all those things were happening. Like try to say, yes, it was bad, right? But why don't we hear? So then he changed it. He started off with that to keep us like, watching him, and then literally switched gears and was like, well, all of that happened. It wasn't so bad. We really don't hear about the most important thing. And that was the death of the one woman, which was the only real casualty. and we never say her name. Yet this woman was breaking into this place is a very this place is a very secure place. We have a lot of people working there. A lot of our representatives, state representatives working there, the nation's representatives working there. It needs to be secure. But the fact that this woman was able to get through, the man was just doing his job. If it was any other day, it would be just a man doing his job, right? But because on this day, we have to look at it as if this woman was murdered fighting for her country. Is that how we have to view it?
Apparently. Right. And then he also framed it. He also framed it in a way where he made it seem like these were financially distressed people, economically anxious, poverty stricken. Yeah. Poverty stricken, driving up and flying up on private jets, driving up in their big souped up monster trucks with all their, all the extra attachments. Like, they had plenty of money to go up there in style and take weapons up there with them. But yet Tucker Carlson, and here's the other thing, like, it is a concerted effort to make sure that no one ever views these people as the white supremacist threats that they really are, right? He started off, like you said, Rebecca, he started off the beginning almost mocking the clear-cut narrative of what happened. It was QAnon. It was white supremacists. It was Donald Trump, angry Donald Trump supporters who went up there, stormed the Capitol, and not only got one of their own killed, but got other police officers killed. I'm just kind of processing whether or not anyway, I digress. The point is, because y'all know how I feel about them. But the point is, they did this. And there has been a nonstop effort by Tucker Carlson and people like Glenn Greenwald to make sure that nobody ever looks at what happened on January 6th for what it was. Because if we look at it for what it was, what we're going to see is that white supremacy is the number one threat in this country yet again. And that's it.
Yeah.
What you got to say, Bubba? You don't like his face? You cracked me up when you said
Tucker Carlson and Donald Trump are fluff buddies.
What's a fluff buddy? I don't even want to know.
Exactly. It's not fluff. Replace the word. Next story.
Oh, no. I got nothing to do with that one. Bro.
Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah, man. He's paid so much good money. I think it's to the tune of like $7 million a year to put this. No. He's making real money to put this clean cut face and look and suit on top of what's nothing more than a Klansman robe, right? He's the master of forwarding white supremacy while wrapping it up in a package that they could sell advertisers to, right? And so he has taken the place of Bill O'Reilly, and he's actually going even further than Bill O'Reilly because he's actually making a case against the United States in favor of white supremacy, right? Whereas like Bill O'Reilly was like, try to distance himself at times, but not so much from white supremacy, but from the rabidly conspiratorial groups like QAnon. Nah, not Tucker Carlson. He's all in for the white supremacy and QAnon because he understands that they're useful idiots. He can use them, and the Republican Party, the conservative movement, the ruling elite can use QAnon just like Donald Trump does, just like he did. I think we have this story coming up later on, how he has been fleecing, he has been taking money from people on a recurring basis under the threat of, if you don't give me recurring money, then you're not a real patriot. They understand exactly how ignorant their audience is and how much they can get away with it.
Yeah, and that is it's terrible. They'll pay them millions of dollars to sit here and create, their monologue because it's going to be in their voice, but to make it believable when they do it in that form. And then when they're structured like Tucker Carlson in those, it's crazy how my accent won't let me say some words. It's ridiculous. So saying his name is tough for me, but like in on, him on the network, Jesus, him being on Fox and him sitting there and him being framed to look like a suburban dad, like a suburban racist dad. That's very comfortable for a lot of people, who are on the right to watch, because that's all they have to see. And that's enough for them to agree with him. Whatever he's saying, because he looks professional, no matter if he can be saying the wrong thing, but because he looks professional and he looks like them, everything that he said is going to be Bible, and they are going to go with it. Now, these are going to be the same people after this monologue that run to social media, that run to Twitter, that run to their TikToks, that run to whatever, and support him by pushing the narrative further and saying, well, it's in pushing those conspiracy theorists, right? The theories. They're going to go and put these videos out and say, well, if you look closely, she was shot and she was really the only one. The other people that were shot, where are their bodies?
Didn't even matter.
Did we see them getting shot on camera? Did we see them getting abused on camera? And people are going to continue to believe it. So did you see how stupid I just sounded now? Yes, that stupidity gets you far in America. It definitely does.
It does.
High key. Like, no, that level of stupidity goes all the way to the White House. If you're a white person, that level of stupidity goes all the way to storm the Capitol.
If you're a white person,
if you're a white person, because had this been Black Lives Matter, what do you think Tucker Carlson would be saying? Oh, he would have been calling for our public execution.
These thugs, where are the tankers? How are they messing up a country that they didn't even build?
Exactly.
He would create that kind of idea and that rhetoric, and people would go with it. They would be like, these are our communities. These are the white folks say these are our communities that they're tearing down. It doesn't matter if that man would have listened to the law, if that man would have never resisted arrest, if that man would have just got into the police car, he would still be alive. Don't go ripping up our city, things that we work hard for with all your thugness, and you're coming from towns that you don't have and coming to ours and bringing your violence here. Don't come doing that. He would put videos out of them and make
Non-stop.
It seem like, to make it seem like that fits really what it is, naming them protesters and not terrorists. That's a problem.
That's it. That's it.
We don't know why the protester was shot. Yeah, the hell we know why.
Yeah, we do. Because she was warned.
Of the dead, but she was warned.
And she seen the gun.
She was shot.
The man said, "Stand back." Y'all can watch it many ways, okay? And what did she do? She kept coming further, thinking that because what a lot of white people believe, who are especially in the right, they believe because their white supremacy is like some kind of cloak. Like you're Harry Potter, like, I'm invisible or I can be covered right now. No, the Lord ain't gonna cover you, sweetie, when you out here doing stuff like that. You will not be covered. White Jesus will not cover you. Black Jesus will not cover you. No, Jesus will cover you.
Don't work.
When Karenism goes wrong, she thought she could go to the manager in the Capitol.
Yeah. And I hate that.
Found out otherwise.
She has to be the example, but we have to show you what stupidity looks like. It sucks that somebody lost their lives, but this is how far. If you guys think it's a difference when people are out there fighting for somebody else who you guys keep killing, which is our black men, our black women, we're out there fighting for that. And we go out there not knowing if we're going to come back home when we go protest. Right?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I thought you.
No, go ahead, Ben. Go ahead, Ben.
Because Tucker Carlson in that same episode, in every episode, continues to lay the blame of George Floyd's murder on the fact that he had drugs in his system. Right? They literally are requiring of us to look at actual footage of George Floyd being murdered by Derek Chauvin and all of these terrorists tearing up the Capitol in the name of Donald Trump and completely reject what our eyes show us, what context, not just our eyes, but actual context and testimony. They want us to reject that because that's the only way they can maintain their hermetically sealed bubble of white supremacy that comes across from Fox News and all of these other conservative outlets that are funded by billionaires in order to spread their propaganda. They need us to be so disingenuous that we will look at a tape of showing my age, look at a video of George Floyd being killed by Derek Chauvin and just say, no, that's not why he died. He died because he had drugs in his system. And it just shows you how bad faith of actors they are.
That kills me.
But they're paid $7, $8, $9, $10 million a year to say that kind of stuff.
Yes, and it kills me because that, to me, this whole trial, like, is just based around, although we've seen everything that we can see and we've heard it from the mouths of the leaders of the police force, of the leaders of the ambulance, of the leaders of everywhere, right? They're saying it was wrong. They're saying there were ways that this could have been stopped. They're saying that this man died from this knee to his neck. And the same thing, the rhetoric, the narrative that's being put out there by one white person, the white man, who's defending him is that, what about the drugs in his system? And that's what could possibly be the deciding factor on this man's justice and whether or not he gets it. Because that alone, that little piece, although all the evidence, all the people that were there, everything, everybody said it was wrong. Everybody said everybody gave evidence and ways and examples of how this could have been stopped and how it was the knee to the neck that killed this man. But because the narrative of this white man in this position defending this, all he said was, what about the drugs in the system? Everybody who believes that his Black life didn't matter will just focus in on that and say, yes, what about those drugs in the system? What about those drugs in the system? And that becomes the story.
What's the name of the woman?
Look at it.
Right. Well, what's the name again of the woman who got killed? I'm sorry, James, go ahead.
I know this echo. I hate it. But I'm like, it's like you can look at the video and see that George is struggling to breathe. So regardless if it's drugs in the system or not, that video shows exactly what you need to see. That's all you need to worry about. So you saying the drugs in the system cause this XYZ, man, damn that. Look at this man knee on this man's neck and you can tell he's in pain and struggling. Come on, y'all. Yeah. But you already know what you just said, man. Everybody else is just like, they're going to make the narrative or change the narrative. But what about the drugs in the system?
That's the only story that matters. That's it. That is the key part of this particular story, of this particular trial. Death. This is it. That's the only part that matters. Every day, the long days that we've been watching this damn trial do not matter because of that one piece, that one question, that one piece of information. That's it.
Because people like this, all they need is one thing that they can cling to so that they don't have to confront the fact that they are a part of and beneficiaries of white supremacy, right? The last thing that these rabidly racist, white supremacist conservatives, people who buy into all this crap from Tucker Carlson, the one thing that they need more, and the reason Tucker Carlson gets paid the way he does is because he's a master of giving their listeners and their viewers just a rope to hang on to. Because the reality is nobody in good faith can look at that video of what Derek Chauvin did to George Floyd and think, what kind of drugs did he have in the system? That's why he died. Oh, but this defense attorney, that's what he's going to do. Fox News, Tucker Carlson, that's what they're going to do. And they're going to do it because they get paid all kinds of money simply to provide white racists with a way to never be accountable for their racism. I want to ask the question. So if y'all are so worried about what kind of drugs were in the system, I want to know what kind of drugs were in the system of the woman that he defended that got killed in Washington, D.C. What kind of drugs were in her system? I'm going to ask that question about every single person that you claim is on the right side of an issue simply because they align with your politics. What kind of drugs were they using?
Why was she resisting arrest?
Why did she not comply with the commands of authorities? Because if she had done that, her ass would be alive right now. Tucker.